Okay. Let me see. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Career professional in the financial services industry. Today's webinar is the second to the last event for the year, and it is entitled Relationship-Based Prospecting. In my 27 years of experience being in this career, I can vouch that it's all about relationship. It's all about relationship. So, with that said, I wanted to give you the last event that we're going to have for December, which is December 9 at 5:30. We call it the Ugly Sweater Contest. We'll make it fun. The venue will be to be announced, but we will send notification to you if it is virtual or physical, because we're still very cautious about the pandemic. Now, thank you for the 27 registrants who would like to improve themselves through this relationship prospecting. And we just hope that they would log in as they are catching up, because some are texting me that they will be late for a minute or two because of some prior commitment, but they wanted to really listen to the speaker. Okay. Now, of the 27, we have people from, of course, Corpus. We also have from McAllen, Edinburgh, Brownsville, Fremont, Houston, Kingsville, Dallas, Colleyville, Addison, Georgetown, and Laredo. So welcome to you all. And this is one way of really showing you the value of being a NAIFA member. We know that some of you are not members yet, but trust me, if you become a member, it will make a difference in your career. Now, I would be remiss if I don't say thank you for our committee membership chairpersons, Michelle, Adriana, and Becky. For without their support, I think I will be overwhelmed and panicky. But because they work on the side, then our event is made materialize. Now, special shout out to Beth Helberg, who is our NAIFA Texas Director of Professional Development and Communication. She is just the best for us. The support and all those things. She is just a real backbone to our local affiliation. Now, to our speaker, Adam, when I saw the bio with a photo, I said to myself, he's not only young, but he's good looking too. So Adam Outland is a partner and a professional coach with Southwestern Consulting, an international sales coaching, training, and consulting company. He's based in Houston. Now, he personally coaches sales professionals, especially in the financial services where we are. He had a lot of partnership with different companies, which I will not mention because I might miss some companies, but he may say it. But he also coaches upper level managers across the country. What this Adam has to offer us is the mere fact that he has consistently ranked in the top 1% of sales forces throughout his 15 years of sales career, while managing and building sales organization himself. Look how young he is. I was teasing him before this meeting that maybe he started at age 4 in his career. So this will be a treat for us. His mission, very important, is to equip sales professionals with the skills and thinking, sales skills and thinking mindset so that he can help them accomplish their goals in their career and in their life. Not only he is good in coaching, but this is one good important information. He is also a man with a golden voice. So I was teasing him to do a introduction to sing first. He belongs to a family with a golden voice. His parents are professors of vocal performance and retired opera singers. He himself is a member of the Young Patron Circle for the Houston Grand Opera. So with that said, I guess I am looking forward to his modulated voice, his coaching skills that he would share with us. And so without much further ado, I would like to give you our speaker for the day, Adam Outland. Take it away.
I just hear cheering in the background. Yeah, I know everybody on their own Zoom call is just wildly applauding right now. Thank you for that awesome introduction. That was perfect. That was amazing. That was just like we wrote it. So thank you so much for that introduction. Everyone, thanks for making time. I know it's Friday. I know we're going into Thanksgiving next week. And I think it reflects really well on all of you that you'd carve out time for growth and development in your own practice. There's a really strong correlation between the people who choose to invest in themselves and the success they have in life. And just by being here today says tremendous amount about your character and your desire to grow. So thank you. I look forward to doing these sessions. I really, really love what I have the opportunity to do for a living. And that was a great description and background on me. And I just want to take 30 seconds and just kind of explain where the content of today's training comes from. We've actually, at the Southwestern family of companies and Southwestern Consulting in particular, we've been around for 160 years as a family of companies. And in those 160 years, we've grown into, we have 24 companies that we own in our family. We started Southwestern Consulting in our division, our coaching and consulting division of our company about a little over 15 years ago. And these are just a handful of the companies that we've actually had the opportunity to partner with, either at a regional level, sometimes at a national level. And in the last 15 years, we've actually had the opportunity to put about 14,000 people through one-on-one coaching. So there's about 140 coaches on our team that have participated in helping with that. I think this has really allowed us a really neat perspective because we've had 160 years of personal company history building sales cultures in our family of businesses. And then through consulting, we've had the opportunity to learn from top producers in all of these companies that you see on the screen and some. And so really what that's allowed us to do is collectively put together the best practices of top performers across industries. And what I think you'll find is that whether you're in financial planning, whether you're in insurance, and honestly, even if you're in mortgage or you're in real estate, a lot of the principles behind prospecting and being a top performer end up being the same. And so with that, I want to really talk about some of the things that we've recognized are inherent in top performers. And from there, we're going to dive into relationship-based prospecting and some tools around that. I always love to start a training like this by getting a common definition on the word sales. I think some people hear the word sales and what immediately occurs to them, what immediately registers is just these negative connotations that a lot of us have floating in our mind of a salesperson. And if I asked you all on this call what your negative connotations are for the word sales, I might hear you say things like manipulative, pressure. I might hear you say things like convincing people to do something. And while those definitions can be true for a very poorly equipped salesperson, And it's the negative connotation many people have because they've had a poor interaction with a sales professional before. I think we're in a constant battle in our minds with this negative definition for the word sales and a positive definition for the word service. If I ask you to think of your definition for the word service, some of the things that might come to mind are helping others, providing value, asking questions to better understand the need of the people that you're working with. And at Southwestern Consulting, we believe that selling is serving when you have the right mindset about it. And the distinguishing factor between the right mindset and the wrong mindset can be drilled all the way back to what your focus is when you're meeting with prospects and clients. I've definitely shadowed and met some sales professionals where they have what we call commission breath. That's where you're thinking about your paycheck. You're thinking about what you get out of the transaction. And commission breath stinks, and you can smell it from a mile away. Okay. So when we were talking about prospecting today, and we're talking about ideas, I just want to be upfront that if you have commission breath, if what you're focused on is yourself and what you get out of the equation, nothing that I train or teach today is going to actually help you. We really believe in servant selling. We really believe in elevating sales in its truest nature, which is two definitions we have for the word sales. It's building relationships with people. That's what we believe sales is defined as. And we believe that it's a transference of emotion and conviction. And so if you're focused on service, if you're actually focused on building relationships with people in order to help them, and you're transferring your confidence and conviction to the people around you, then all the techniques and the things that I share with you today will actually really resonate, and they'll make a true impact. So with that in mind, let's kick this show off and really dive into some of the things that we've learned from studying top producers as well as being top producers ourselves. So what separates a top producer from an average producer? There's really three major buckets that in coaching we've kind of registered are the most critical to being a consistent top performer. And the first one's going to be our major topic for today, and that's skills, right? When we talk about skills, I'm referencing the psychology of sales and sales skills. So we're talking about prospecting. We're talking about the initial approach and how you make first impressions. We're talking about how you navigate different behavior styles, how you answer objections, how you move people to a point of decision, how you qualify more effectively and more quickly. Those are all skills. And those of you that have entered this industry, some of you came into this industry already equipped with the ability to approach people. You might just be that person that, if you dropped you in the middle of a networking room, you're shaking hands and meeting people and blessing babies and everybody loves you right away, right? And even if that's your gift, usually the people with a gift for approaching tend to maybe struggle just a little bit more with actually closing on business opportunity. And so we have a fun descriptor for the people who are really good networkers, really good at shaking hands and an initial encounter, but struggle with closing. We call them being professional visitors, right? And so just like the game of golf, it's a lifelong game to become and master the skill sets in this arena. Whatever is natural for you, great. But it still means that we need to focus on the other part of our game. Maybe it's the long game, it's the close, it's the answering objections, it's the follow-up that we need to constantly hone and perfect. So again, today we're really going to work on relationship-based prospecting as a skill. And we're going to deconstruct that and referrals in a way that allows you to practice, rehearse, and become a master of that skill. But skills by themselves aren't going to make or break your career, right? It's a third of what it takes to be successful. The other part of it is motivation. I remember sitting down and I think invited him today, but with Ted Harless years ago in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He was at the time the president of the NAIFA chapter there. He had the key to the city of Lake Charles and just an incredibly service-minded, community-oriented person. And I remember sitting down with Ted, and he was talking about engaging with us in one-on-one coaching. I said, Ted, you've got to have been doing this for like 35 years. Like, what do you really want to gain out of coaching? And he said, well, Adam, I know I've got the skills and I could always get better at those. But he said, it's really the motivation. He's like, there's a period of time where I didn't have the fire in my belly that I used to have when I first got started in this industry. I need to rekindle my vision. I need to rekindle my passion to be able to lead our office and lead myself in production. And I think there's a lot of us maybe on this call, and some of you can relate to that. Maybe you've forgotten your why, what got you into this industry in the first place. And especially in a year like this year, where it's been really hard to socialize and be with people. And that might've been a primary reason why you got in this industry in the first place, where, that motivation's really taken a punch. But it's so critical if you're going to maintain consistency of results and consistency of impact to have a clear vision and a clear why, because without a why, people perish. And so motivation is inherent in top performers. And the third area is systems. You've got to have the skills. You've got to be motivated to use them. And then you've got to be organized and good with your time. And you've got to learn how to work smarter eventually versus just harder. I had a conversation this morning with a client who's one of the top performers at Edward Jones. And our constant conversation is, how can we create better and better systems to help him focus on the true income producing activities in his business and away from the things that he can delegate or empower other people to do or automate. And businesses only scale through the systems that allow them to get bigger than a single person. And so it's all three of these areas working in tandem that really makes you successful. And at the center of them all is the word habits. And that's really critical. We used to be at Southwestern Consulting a speaking and training company. We used to do these trainings for in Dallas and in Seattle and Washington, D.C., where we trained for 8 straight hours on these areas. And we actually got out of the training business in part because we realized that to make a lasting impact on people, you can't just get them fired up for a couple hours and expect them to change. If you really want to make a lasting change on somebody, you've got to change them at the level of habit. You've got to actually help them reform some of the habits that they've inadvertently formed that have caused them that have held them back professionally and maybe personally. And in my personal experience, the most powerful way to evolve someone's habits is through accountability. I remember when I was 28 years old, I decided to investigate in the idea of getting a personal trainer. My wife is an incredible person. She was at University of Maryland when we met, and she was a captain of the Division I field hockey team at University of Maryland. And I got the opportunity to watch her win 2 back-to-back NCAA championships as the captain of that team. So my wife is just naturally athletic and typically works out all the time to stay in shape, even to this day. The guy you're looking at in the camera right now is much more gifted at typing on the keyboard than he is at going to the gym. And so I knew I needed accountability here. I wanted to investigate it. I met with a personal trainer when I was 28, and the personal trainer took me through this hardcore cardiovascular test, sat me back down. I was heaving, I was breathing hard. And he looked at me and he said, "Adam, do you want to know the bad news or the bad news?" And I said, "All right, hit me with it." And he goes, "Well, the bad news is that you can't get a whole lot worse than where you're at right now." And I go, "Wow, okay. What else?" He said, "Adam, you have, according to our cardio test, the physical fitness of a 50-year-old, an unhealthy 50-year-old, and you're only 28. There were a lot of lessons that hit me in that moment from that personal trainer. But one of the most powerful lessons was that you've got, a lot of us get into the sales business because we want to be nice to people, because we like people, we want to make friends, and we like that human interaction. This guy was not being what I would call nice to me. He was being real with me. And he was telling me not what I wanted to hear, but what I needed to hear. And hopefully, if there's an inherent lesson in today's session, that as financial advisors, insurance advisors, that at your funeral, you don't want people to just say, "Hey, so-and-so is a nice guy." You want them to say, "So-and-so changed my life because he was real with me when other people weren't." And that's the very definition of being a consultant or an advisor. Well, my fitness advisor told me this. I did exactly what he wanted me to do, which is sign up for personal training. He put accountability around me 3 times a week to get in that gym and do the work. And in 2.5 short months, it was a transformative impact to my health. And I accomplished more in 2 months than I did in 5 years. And I share that story because that's really the concept. The first time it landed on me, the power of coaching and the power of accountability. And so I can sit here for the next 45 minutes and teach you all the skills in the world. But what's really going to make the difference is whether you actually use them, whether or not they become habit and second nature to you. And if there's one thing I really hope you take away today is the power of accountability. It sucks. It's painful when you choose to put accountability around an area of your life, but it's a transformation. And if you really want to transform an area of your life, put accountability around it, and it will happen. And so look through everything we teach today through the lens of accountability to help you decide where that needs to take place for you to see a transformation in your business. And I promise you'll move the needle if you take that on. So with that, let's really take some time. Let's dive into the mindset behind prospecting. Let's talk about some of the techniques. And at the end, I'll share just a little bit on one-on-one coaching and what that looks like with us. And if that's something you're open to entertaining, then I'll make myself available for, a meeting or a phone call, and we can talk about that offline. So with this setup, the one thing that I want to get into with top producers in prospecting is their mindset. This is really the framework before we dig into the technical. Top performers are very good at focusing on what they can control. And if you're looking at the screen right now, what you see on it is a dartboard, right? I mean, that's literally archery darts. It's in the middle, you got the bullseye, which is worth the most amount of points. And it's worth the most amount of points because it's got the least amount of surface area on that dartboard. The outermost circle, actually, technically the wall, is worth the least amount of points because it's got the most surface area. Therefore, it's the easiest to hit. And when we talk to our clients, we often talk to them about the concentric circles of control, which is what you're looking at here, where the outermost circle represents the things that you can do nothing about. And if there's been a year in this country where there are more reasons external to you why you can't be successful, this would be the year for that to happen. There are so many things that are outside of your control that if you let it, can totally pull your mindset off course and can cause you to get into a state of depression. And in fact, we found from working with clients that there were a lot of people that were impacted this way, especially earlier in the year. If we sat here and just thought of all the things that you can't control, from the weather to whether or not clients actually buy or make a decision to move forward now, or whether they're deciding to hold their money until after this election stuff's fully over and we're in 2021 because they want to see how the market turns. We could talk about the weather and the hurricanes. We could talk about all kinds of stuff because there's so much there. And a lot of people let the uncontrollables get them off kilter. That next centermost circle is and represents influence. And influence can be a confusing area because you can influence whether someone buys, you can influence whether someone partners with you for their insurance needs or their financial needs, but you still can't directly control it. And some people get control and influence confused. And the simplest way I can explain it to you is that influence isn't really worth your time or energy. The only thing that's really worth your time and energy is in the middle of this dartboard, in the middle of the circle, because it's where all of your influence actually stems from. And these are the controllables, the things that you can directly control. And if I asked you all, what are the things that you can actually control in life? What are the things that you can actually do something about? What would be a couple of the things that you'd say? I actually don't know if you guys can actually talk. I think we have it disabled, so I might have to answer my own question. There's really only 4 controllable things at the end of the day. You can control your activity, what the effort that you choose to put into the day. You can control your schedule, which is how you plan and organize your time. Rick, who just threw it in the chat, said it perfectly. Attitude for sure is a controllable. You can control the thoughts that are occurring between your 2 ears. You can manage the emotions and your emotional intelligence and how you treat the things that are incoming each day. And the last thing that you can control is the words you choose to use with others. And that's a huge place of influence for whether or not people do choose to buy, whether or not people do choose to trust you. It has a lot to do with the words and how you say them. And so really, there's only 4 things that are worth anything for you to spend focus and energy on each day. And it's right there in front of you. Here's the problem we see most people have. They wake up Monday morning, they push the snooze alarm because they're not motivated to get out of bed, and boom, right away, their schedule is jacked for the day. Finally, they get up, they go to their home office, and they just do what's easy, which is they open up their email on their phone and they start scrolling through email, and boom, right away, there's a fire to put out, and their activity's thrown off course because they planned prospecting time, but instead now it's turned into firefighting time. And the fire they're trying to put out, the prospect doesn't want to meet. They're not interested. Their medical came back and they're not qualified. And all of a sudden, boom, your attitude's shot. You're just like, dang it. I knew this year was going to be bad. I knew this week was going to be bad. I can't get any clients. And you've already shot yourself in the foot. You've already shot yourself in the foot because out of the 4 things that you can directly control, it's only 10:30 a.m. on Monday morning. You've already given up 3 of them. And so I want to let that sink in for you. That's what most people do. That's how they live their life. And that's the reason prospecting actually doesn't work for them, because they've given up 3 of the most critical things that give them the power for influence. And then when they actually do get a chance to talk to a prospect, their attitude's so bad that their word choice is poor and they've lost the last controllable. And so a lot of us are wondering why it's the 4th quarter and we're sitting here not having our best year. And this is it. And the only thing that distinguishes a top performer and someone who's average or below average is the ability to maximize these 4 areas. And you know what? If that's one of the only things that you take away from today's training as a reminder, and you're actually able to lean into that and take back some of the control each day, that'll make a tremendous difference in the end of this year and the beginning of next. Top performers control the controllable. What are you not controlling? What are you giving up first? Maybe throw it in the chat, because look, we're in the trust tree here. Everybody's going to be able to relate to what you say, but throw it in the chat. Like, admit to it. Like, what are the things that you tend to give up control around the most, right? Is it your activity? Is it your schedule because you're putting out family fires at home because you're working from home right now? Is it your word choice? But what is it for you? And the more important question is, when is it going to cost you enough to where you're actually going to make a decision to make a change in that part of your life, right? When is schedule gotten so bad or activity gotten so bad where you're finally going to look at it and say, you know what, next week's got to be different. Like, we've got to figure out change because enough is enough. When we work through one-on-one coaching, it's part accountability around these things that help lift people out of a rut. And it's part, sometimes you're in the weeds in your own business and you can't see your own blind spots. And so it's having someone on the outside to help point out the areas that are missing in your controllable lineup, so you can get realigned and focus on the things that really move the needle. So thanks, Matt, for sharing schedule. There's no doubt that that's probably the number one thing I've heard from clients and folks. So you are not alone in knowing that schedule's an easy area to lose control. So chat with me offline. We can talk more about that. These 2 guys, I think just knocked it out of the ballpark this year. If you were on the NAIFA Texas webinar we had earlier in the year, I was an interviewer for these 2 panelists that I helped bring on. They're both out of Texas. Nick is in Dallas. Matt's in San Antonio. They're both coaching clients of mine. I've had the pleasure of getting to know these guys over the years. And every year's been a growth year for them. But this year in particular has been extremely rewarding. Nick's brought in $40 million in assets under management in the last 12 months. And he's a top 1% in the area of growth at Edward Jones. He's grown more year over year than the vast majority of people at Edward Jones in the country. And he's only been in the business for 4 years. And so Nick he did a great job in that panel if you get a chance to go back and listen to it. But this is his message, is control the controllables. The guy is the Arnold Schwarzenegger of wealth management, and he just puts in the reps every single week. He calls on controllers to capture 401k business. And he doesn't care if it's a cold call or a referral. He's going to fearlessly put in the activity to get the results. And so he's a master at controlling the activity and controlling his schedule. That's really helped him make the success happen. Matt, brilliant Northwestern Mutual rep. He's probably, top 20 this year. I mean, maybe even closer to top 10 based on the premium. He's only been in the business for 5 years. And he did about $750,000 in premium in the last 12 months. And Matt's the same thing. Like his focus on is constantly developing his sales language and his tact and his systems. And that's how he controls his schedule and his time. So both are brilliant prospectors, both take a different approach to it, but both were successful because they control the controllables. So wanted to share those quick stories with you. So I'm just going to actually be a little bit conservative in what we're covering here. So I'm going to skip a couple of things so we can get right to the meat. That's the mindset. Like that's the mindset behind prospecting, is controlling the controllables. And so now we're going to shift gears and we're actually going to talk about prospecting so that when you do control your time and your effort, you're maximizing the conversion out of the time you're spending on the phone or networking. So you can get the most results for the time that you put into it. I know a lot of us maybe make the time for prospecting, but we're underconfident when we're doing it because maybe we've never formally trained ourselves on how to be top performing prospectors. Others maybe are good at, again, the meet and greet part of it, but they're not so good at turning a friend into an appointment. And still others, they're incredible closers. They're great at moving the relationship forward to actually turning it into business, but their pipeline is just empty. I mean, you can see the tumbleweed going through their pipeline because there's just nobody in there. And they're always like, yeah, just bring me the candidates. I'll close them for you. But they just don't know how to hunt for new relationships. And so at the end of the day, the sales cycle is a little bit like golf, right? We've got people who are great at driving their irons straight, but maybe they struggle with putting. And if they're great at putting, they struggle with driving. And so each of you on this call has a different gift, and, pat yourself on the back if we talk about something that you're really good at, and then make a note if it's something that you really could develop and get better at when we cover that. So with prospecting, there's a few different types, right? The first one I just want to spend a very, very quick minute on is social networking events. A lot of people botch this area because they botch this area because they go to these social networking events. They grab a beer and they just kind of hang out in the corner and they don't really meet people. Or they're the other extreme and they're meeting people, but they're being a little too aggressive and trying to actually make business happen in that social networking event. And so a key to social networking is there's a few things that I've learned. One is social networking is different than organized networking in that you should find organizations that you actually believe in, right? So one of the things that Lil mentioned when she introduced me is that I'm part of the Houston Grand Opera in Houston. I'm a young patron, so I donate to the opera. I get season tickets, and I do that because both my parents were opera singers, and we like the opera, but we also want to really give back to the arts that took care of our family when I was growing up. And a lot of the people in those circles believe what I believe about the arts and want to support the same cause. And so I find myself in really high-level groups of people, super successful business owners and a really diverse group of folks. And in that room, you know who the only person is that's probably somewhat focused on networking? It's me, right? I'm there for service. I'm there for the company, but I'm also there to intelligently build my business. And so no one else is necessarily there to network. They're there for the opera. And it's a 2-for-1 for me. And so I'm shaking hands and I'm meeting people and I'm being curious and I'm being interested instead of interesting, so that I can better learn what people are about and what they do, find someone that shares my values, and then take the meeting outside of that. If I think there might be a real opportunity there to serve them. And in my opinion, sometimes the best places to network can be places where no one else is networking except for you. That's because there's less defense levels up. People are not all just focused on their own referrals. They're actually focused on you and sharing their story. So ask yourself the question, where can you meet like-minded business people who share your value set? If you're a super strong Christian, like maybe there's all kinds of Christian, or there's a C12 group you could join with other Christian business leaders. There's nonprofit volunteer boards that you can join and be on, like Cornerstone Family Ministries in Houston, where we actually help underserved youth in the community. We all have a passion for impacting youth through social entrepreneurship and discipleship. And so, whether or not business is created from these encounters, we're still serving a greater cause. But it's so much more fun to build a business with like-minded people that share values, and they tend to convert higher because there's a deeper level of trust there just to begin with. So that's my 10 cents on social networking as a form of prospecting, is find those organizations, those volunteer, be a part of your community. And NAIFA is a great example of that too, where it's a place for education, and then secondary, it can be a place to create some really great referral partnerships. Now let's talk, so there's social networking, and then there's your actual referral partners that you have in your business. And this is the second take to relationship-based prospecting, is how do you evolve those A+ referral partner relationships? And this is a big one. So I want you to look at what's on the screen here. A lot of people do this poorly. They just kind of pray and spray, meet with a bunch of people one-on-one, one time, hoping that nets a good referral. And it's just not like that. I mean, you got to think of it like dating. When you dated someone in high school or in college, you didn't just go on one date once a month and hope a relationship actually developed out of that. You go on dates multiple times in a week, right, to actually move the relationship forward. And so the same is true for referral partners, where you've got to actually put some concerted time into the front end of the relationship if it's going to produce meaningful results. And we want to make sure that when we are doing that, we're spending time with the right people. And so these are a few qualities. This should be your checklist to qualify referral partners by, and to make sure it's probably going to be a good fit quickly. In your rapport building, figure out if they work with your ideal clients. Number two, that they have an advisor's trust with their own clients, right? So if you're meeting with a CPA, there's two different types of CPAs, guys. There's a transactional CPA that spends very little time outside of tax season with their clients. And they could be a great CPA, but they don't have that depth of trust and relationship with their clients where they do things outside of normal business hours, or they're necessarily going to be a great referral partner for you. So you want to investigate what kind of level of trust as an advisor do they actually have with their clients, because that's going to tell you how often and how powerful the introductions are actually going to be. Number three, that they're actually referable. I mean, you might sit down with a property and casualty person and they're just super annoying to you and you don't connect well with them, but you're like, man, I got to go get some referral partners. So you just deal with it. But here's the deal. If you're not going to refer them because of the way they're showing up, you probably don't want to work with their clients anyway, right? So ask yourself, are they actually referable themselves? Therefore worth the investment of my time. Number four, they're actually willing to introduce you to prospective clients. I mean, you could meet someone that checks all the above lists, but they're super nice to you when you meet, but they actually never send you somebody. And then your wheels are going to be spinning and you're going to hate yourself for the time you're spending on that. And so you want to kind of navigate fairly quickly. It doesn't have to be the first or even the second meeting. But by the third meeting that you're doing a case study on a prospective client, to see if they'll actually move forward in doing the introduction. And you want to vet that out early. And then number five, that they actually send you a certain number of prospects per year that would make them not just a referral partner, but an A+ referral partner. So that can differ depending on industry and person. But you want to have a certain number in mind that you're looking for that makes the value proposition there for you to reinvest in that relationship. So this is what to me makes an A+ referral partner, is that they check off these boxes and they're sending a certain number of deals per year. And part of your job is to get them there. So in your referral partner meetings, how do we actually make someone an A+ referral partner from what you can control in the equation? Here are the few things that I'd say are most important. Number one, be intentional with your rapport. I'm on the receiving end of what I call very crappy rapport building. Crappy rapport building is when you say, yeah, how have you been? How are you doing? And then that's followed with, yeah, the weather's really nice. And you just talk about just BS stuff that has nothing to do with anything. If you want to be intentional rapport, you ask questions like, hey, so tell me a little bit about like how you're involved in the community. Like, what do you do outside of normal business hours? How do you give back? What boards are you a part of? Like, and you can cluster all those questions together and just say, tell me about you. Like, I want to learn. I'd love to just kind of hear like where you're plugged in here and, what your values are. And it's a different question. Like, people don't ask that. And it's intentional rapport because the person gets to talk about themselves, which just inherently builds trust. But you're going to actually learn where their circles of influence are, which is going to become a really powerful tool later when you're asking for referrals. Number 2, are you being interested instead of interesting, right? Focus on them. That first referral partner meeting should be 80% them doing the talking and 20% you doing talking. You want to learn. It's an opportunity to learn a different business, a different industry, how they approach their client interactions, because it's going to make you better at serving your own clients to be able to see holes in the other elements of their business. And so take it as an opportunity to learn from each referral partner. Number 3, do you have a clear process you can explain to them? There's the only reason I'd have confidence in referring one of my deep relationships to somebody in insurance or financial planning is if I knew modeled out exactly how they were going to take care of my relationship and what the flow would go, and that they would keep me involved and apprised of how it was going. And so having a clear process you can share with a referral partner builds confidence in them being able to refer. And then number 4, are you actually closing on a next step in the relationship? I see a lot of people leave a referral partner meeting without the next one set. It's like, hey, great conversation, really enjoyed it. Let's get together some other time. And they leave and you never get back, or 3 months goes by. You can't create a momentum in a new prospective relationship where referrals will actually take place at that frequency. You just can't do it. So before you leave a meeting, and this is a principle for clients, for referral partners, for anything, and this is one I believe in deeply, never leave an appointment without the next one set if you want to do business with them. Never leave an appointment without the next one set. So at the end of that referral partner meeting, say, hey, really enjoyed our time together today. Let's go ahead and plan another time to sit back down where I can, maybe just take you through a case study of one of my clients, and you could help me with one of my real clients, just kind of walk me through what you would ask and what you would look for. And just schedule that time and that place to get that done. So referral partner meetings, these are 4 critical things. So I know we're covering a lot of ground, team, and we're squeezing a lot into the time that we have. And so I knew we were going to pack this full. How are we doing, guys? You use the chat form. Do you have any questions about the referral partner strategy, the social networking, and how you can best lean into that, or anything that you guys want to share? Brilliant. I am covering all the bases. Matt, do they have to be a client to be a good referral partner? Do they have to be a client to be a good referral partner? Absolutely not. No, I think, I look at some of the people who've sent me a tremendous amount of business in my years doing what I do for a living. And a number of them actually have never been clients. And so I think that it's a perk if they are a client because they truly understand your process, but they definitely don't have to be. You'll have CPA referral partners, you'll have bankers, private bankers that get your messaging and see the value for their own clients, but maybe aren't necessarily a client themselves. So yeah, good question, Matt. Thanks for sharing it. All right, guys. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a power-packed last 10 minutes here. So stick with me and lean into this part, because this is some of the things that we do the absolute best, I think, in the world in our company. If some of you guys have ever bought a Tom James suit from a Tom James rep, my guy's actually coming to my house right after this call. So I'm really excited to get a new blazer, right? No one's getting new pants right now because you can't tell what I'm wearing, but the blazers still matter. So here's what I would just say, and I see some more questions popping in. I'll make sure I get to those here in a minute. Tom James has done an incredible job building the custom clothing business to the point where they're the largest custom clothing company in the entire world to this day. They do about 600 million in revenue a year. And one of the biggest ways they've gotten there is being experts at asking for referrals. The average, Tom James person gets so many referrals in their process that when they hire a new Tom James rep, they can give them about 100 to 150 referrals to get going. And so I know a lot of you on this call would love to have that problem of having too many referrals to even be able to work yourself. And so that's really what we're going to dive into really quickly here. I'm going to give you the outline for our referral ask process. And if you ever want to go in a deeper dive into any of this content, team, to make it habit, just set some time with me outside of this, and I'd be happy to invest a little bit of time in you and to talk more about it. So here's where we're going to go through. So number one, if you're going to ask referral partners or actual clients for referrals, you need to have an effective transition. And an effective transition in my world is a give to get. Okay. I don't mean you give them a present before you ask for referrals. I mean, you give them an authentic compliment before you ask for referrals. So here's what that sounds like. If I'm asking, Rick Dimko, who's here out of Houston, if I was asking him for referrals, I would say, hey, Rick, I really appreciate the time that we've spent together, that just the values that you have in your business and the strategy that you've approached insurance with and what you've done, I really appreciate. And I think honestly, if I had 10 clients that had that student of the game mentality that you have and that were just like you, my life as a coach would be amazing. And so Rick, I'd love to get your help, man. Who are a couple of people that that share that same kind of mindset with you? And so that's right there. I just did 1 and 2. I transitioned by paying an authentic and real compliment to Rick and, why we connect well. And then I just transition and say, man, I want to work with more people that are like you and have those qualities because they're going to be great clients for me. And so it's a smooth transition. You're appropriately building them up and creating some momentum for that ask. And so the next thing is you want to ask. And the biggest mistake I see people do here is they say, do you know anyone that fits that profile? They ask, do you know, which is a yes or no question. And people are just going to say, I don't know. Let me think about it. Like that's going to be their answer most of the time. If you ask, do you know? Instead ask, who do you know? Assume they do know people that have values. People know thousands of people. They know someone that's worth meeting. I promise you. And so ask them a proactive question like, who do you know instead of do you know? Because it gets their brain thinking differently. So who do you know? Steer away from the word referrals. I love introductions. I prefer that term. I think it's warmer. I think it's more what I'm after. And I think it connects better with people. Number 3, paint a picture. So here's normally how it goes. You say, who do you know that fits those core value profiles? And they go, I know people, but let me think about it and I'll email you. And they're going to have the best intentions to email you, but they're probably not going to follow through on it. And so you need to just thank them and say, thank you so much. It'd be great if you do that. Just why we're talking right now. Let me give you a better picture of who those folks might look like. And then just dive into painting a picture. I like to put them in my shoes. I go, Matt, if you were me and you decided to jump into the coaching and consulting arena, if you decided to take on my job and you just had a passion for this, knowing all the people that you know right now, your circle of influence, like who would be the first person that you would go and talk to if you became a coach? Like who would be the first person you'd reach out to because they believe in this stuff and they'd really connect with that. And by putting them in your shoes and painting that picture of what you do and what you believe in, it's going to help them visualize some people worth introducing you to. And then from there, continue on with isolating faces and go through what you learned about them in rapport building for where their centers of influence are and pour into them. So just say, gosh, I know you told me that you're part of that board for the Boys and Girls Club. Who are a couple other board members that you feel like really connect on those same values? Like who are a couple of people that you just really appreciate? Maybe you sat next to them at the last board meeting and you just at least know we'd connect, we'd get along. You don't have to know whether or not they want what I do. It's just really about connecting and creating new relationships. And they go, oh yeah, for sure. You need to meet Doug, So be good at isolating faces by shrinking down their circles of influence to where they know people, and get specific. When they give you a name like Doug, break eye contact, write it down, and say, thank you so much. This is exactly how I build my business. And then ask them, who else can you think of? Team, this approach, the most referrals I've gotten from one person was about, I think 31 that I got from a guy in Houston, and they were all pretty solid referrals. It took 25 minutes, but he was willing to take the time, and I let him. And it's because I just kept being thankful, and I kept asking, who else can you think of? And he kept thinking of other people. You'll occasionally run into connectors that can refer you to a ton of folks. But on average, with this approach, you should be averaging 5 to 7 referrals every time you ask. That means occasionally people might not give you any, but the other times they'll give you 10 or 15, and it averages out. Lastly, get pre-approach, right? Get the information in the background on each prospect that they do introduce you to, so that you can really make that a warm connection over the phone. And one of my favorite things to ask is, tell me something that you really appreciate about that person. Yeah. When you told me about Doug, like why did they come to mind? Like, what do you really appreciate about their style or their approach? And this is going to be great icebreaker, because you get to strengthen and empower the relationship between the two of them. And at the same time, you get to break the ice on the phone. And so you're getting a lot done if you ask that question about appreciation, and you download that. So there's other pre-approach you can get, that we dig into in coaching. But I think that gives you a good highlight. So literally, we just streamlined our way through 7-step referral process to help you get new introductions to people. Take this and run with it, team. I'll tell you, I think there's people that this is often a topic where we'll coach on it, just like I did today, with a little bit more depth on a coaching call. And our client gets all excited. They go out for 2 weeks. They still haven't formed the habit, so they still forget to ask. They run out of time at the end of their meetings. They'll do it once, and they'll kind of screw it up, because just like anything, it takes repetition and practice to get good at it. They'll come back to our next coaching call, and they'll say, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't as good as you said, like kind of fumbled through it, and I need to get better. And so here's coming back to coaching, team. This is why it works so powerfully, is because then we role play it, and we hone the language, and we help script it out word for word in a way that our clients can rehearse it and make it their own. And it's all those little things, and having someone hold you accountable to building a new habit into your practice. That's why Matt Occhiapinti goes from, 250,000 to 750,000 in revenue, right? It's these little changes and tweaks where you start having tons of referrals knocking at your door. Like a client of ours, James Love, who's a Northwestern Mutual guy out of Austin, when he jumped and had over 100 new clients in a single year, because he got so good at this strategy and this technique. And so this is just in wrap up, team, and kind of bringing all these pieces together, what I want to share with you. You've taken time on this call to just invest in tools and resources. And I really, really do hope that some of the things that we shared today were either a wake up call or a good resource that helps you actually have a strong finish to your year and tee up, 2021 for you. I am a truly passionate person about coaching. I hired a coach when I was a junior in college. My first sales gig ever was selling educational books door to door during my college summers to pay for school. And I actually hired a sales coach to work with me for an entire year, even through college, to prepare for my summer selling season. And that summer, I made $80,000 in income between selling books and building an organization that sold books. We did $1 million in revenue as an organization that summer. And it was a tremendous year for me, because I was number 2 in personal sales out of 3,000 sales reps in the entire company. And I know that I had the ability. I needed a coach that could pull that ability out of me, hold me accountable to my potential, and give me the resources and tools to accomplish it. Guys, coaching only works if you really want that level of accountability. If you have the potential in you that you have, and you want someone else to help extract it from you, and you're just not quite accomplishing what you're capable of. And if that's you, team, like, get on the phone with me and let me talk to you about coaching. Like, it's not for everyone. But if some of this stuff resonated with you today and the message is there, I would love to have that conversation, because I'm such a big believer that once you've done coaching once, I've had a coach now in dietetics in my personal health life. I have a coach in my professional business life. I have a coach that helps with marriage. Like, yeah, I put coaching around all the different things in my life, because I recognize that a third party with experience can help me be a better person in those areas of my practice and in my life. And I think it's true for everyone. And so if you choose to partner with us, this is what you get out of it. I think on average in our coaching program, if you're just average at what we do, we track income, and in 12 months, people experience a 25.1% growth in income. I mean, that's literal data from the last couple of years. You can expect a growth in income. Multiply your time. Like, some people don't care about growing their income. They just want to get some time back. And this is a huge thing for coaching, is helping people be time multipliers, learning to automate, to delegate, and to streamline what they focus on so they can get more done in less time. And the third thing is just confidence, team. A lot of us on this call are conditionally confident. If you're having a good month, you're fired up and confident in your closing business. If you're having a bad month, you're underconfident, you're feeling crappy, and it shows. You will come out of coaching more unconditionally confident than ever. And unconditional confidence is learning to connect your confidence to the things that you directly control. That creates consistency and confidence, and consistency and confidence creates consistency and performance. And we're able to accomplish that through coaching. So that's all I want to share, team, is just some of those things. If you want to learn more about the nuts and bolts of coaching, how we accomplish that, and more of the details around it, I'm happy again to make some time individually for you guys on that. And so let me, what I will do is I'm going to punch this into the chat right now. And this is my email, and you can just shoot me an email and say, hey, we'd love to get some time with you, and we'll schedule it. And if not, and hey, this was a great training, Adam, I got what I could out of this, that's fine too. But if coaching's a valuable thing for you, I'm happy to carve out some space to chat with you about it. So, but why I'm here is to add as much value as possible. So I hope you guys took away some great tools and lessons from today's training. And I know there were a couple of questions that maybe I didn't quite answer here. From your experience, what has been the timeline to see success in this strategy? I would give referral partner work, depending on exactly what industry you're in, 2 to 3 months to ramp up. And I mean, it doesn't mean 2 to 3 months before you get your first referral, but I think where you're actually starting to see some inbound things. I've been working on this process for the last 6 years in Houston. And honestly, in year 6, I'm seeing some of the big, it's a multiplier where the referral partners, the referral systems stack to the point where you've kind of automated lead generation, and it gets more and more every year. So if you're doing it right, it's an ongoing thing. So with that, team, I know we're at time, and I would just tell you, put some habits around the things that you need to grow in. Reach out to me if you'd like to connect. And I just really appreciate you guys for your time and carving this out to grow and get better. Thank you guys so much. And I'll turn it back over to Lel to wrap us out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Adam. I myself, as I said, even if you are, we call it established agent or 20 some years in the business, but I got some little nuggets from you. So something like put your lens of accountability for transformation. Control the controllables, the bull's eye of the target. Selling is serving for the right mindset. And also, I like this, commission breath stinks. So I made up my own. Maybe the service is like baby's breath. Okay. And then network when no one else is networking except you. Are you being interested instead of interesting? I like that quote. And the last but not the least, it said, never leave them without setting the next appointment. So again, this is something that we know for a fact in our back of our mind, but are we doing it? So thank you so much. It was so short and simple, and I know that it's very important for, especially for young agents in the audience, to have a coach. So we appreciate you on behalf of the Corpus Christi Affiliate Association. Thank you so much. And I heard from Beth that this is recorded. So for those people who signed up and was not able to really register today, we can go back and listen to Adam. Nice nuggets of information. Thank you all, and we'll keep on networking with you, contact you for our future activities. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.